Les?
And thank you,
You
Mayor
have the floor
Lambert.
now.
This is an item that has been around a little while under the city's fleet management program. We have tracked emergency power supplies, generators, at a variety of sites around the city. This particular unit is located at Fire Station Number 1, and it has gone beyond its life expectancy and has reached that stage in its life where it's becoming very difficult to acquire parts for maintenance and keeping it alive into the future. So consistent with our replacement program, it's gone through the budget process and then gone out for design and bids on a replacement project to remove the existing generator and put in a new generator and the associated switching and electrical work that needs to go along with that. So this item before you is the award of that bid to, or the contract to Grop LLC for the project. At the committee last week, we talked a little bit about potential options other than perhaps just replacement of this. So some questions had been raised about are there other things we could do. One of the items that was thrown out there was, well, what about the possibility of taking the generator located out here in the parking lot of City Hall and moving it to the fire station, or perhaps making it a portable unit that could serve both facilities. So we did talk about that a bit last week. The concerns really that staff expressed with that are, first off, that this generator is 16 years old on a 25-year life expectancy, so it doesn't have, 25 years ahead of it. It has another 10 years or so available. But to me, probably a more major item is the ability during a power outage to have both Fire Station 1 and this facility available for use with backup power. This facility does serve as emergency operations center under certain situations. The fire station, of course, has an immediate need to respond to things that may be happening during power outages and any kind of a emergency event that is ongoing. So if a generator happened to be here rather than there during an emergency event, then you've got response time to get somebody here and relocate and all those things that go with it. The particular unit here also is not very conducive to becoming a portable unit. So with that, staff has recommended that we continue on as programmed here to replace the unit at the fire station with a new unit that's appropriate for the setting, the right size, and then all the associated work that goes with it. Leave the unit here to provide service to this building on a daily basis and for those occasional emergency operations.
Wayne, this was heard at Public Works and Finance as well on April 13th.
It was, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Les addressed the issues very well. Thank you. It hadn't even been thought about, really, about utilizing the generator out here for City Hall until Councilmember Steed brought that question up as to why could we not utilize that as a mobile generator. And the reason that he asked that is because as we move into our strategic planning, one of the things that we're asked to do is ask the questions of why do you want to do that and what other options are there. It was pretty clear that trying to make that a mobile generator is not a good idea, where City Hall could and probably would function as a major crisis center if we had a major situation going on. And the fact that we do have IS services here where we contract fiber optic cable out to various commercial agencies, which we would need to be able to continue to do that, was pretty obvious to us that we would still need emergency power here as well as the fire department. So that was the reason that we elected to continue on with this. We also wanted to have this put out on the regular agenda so that the public could be advised as to our decision-making process on that.
John, you had a question.
Yeah, I'm in favor of doing this for all the reasons that have been stated. I do have a question, and it's more of a general question, and it has to do with we've got 16 years on a 25-year generator. We've also got the same situation with police cars, the same situation with fire trucks, and things like that with the city. I don't expect you to answer the question about the police cars or the fire trucks, but where did we come up with the number 25 years?
Well, the fleet replacement program actually began as a public works endeavor some years ago, and then about 4 years ago we expanded it to include the entire fleet operation in terms of how we track the vehicles that are in the city fleet, both wheeled and then fixed assets like generators. The fleet department spends quite a bit of time assessing condition of vehicles. And they look at, okay, what are the costs associated with the vehicle over time? And as you would expect, as vehicles get older, more miles, more hours of use, then they require more maintenance. The cost of that maintenance tends to rise. Just, like any vehicle, you would expect that to occur. In some cases, like generators or some of the larger pieces of equipment that we have, graders or sweepers, things of that nature, availability of parts becomes a large problem for us. They just stop stocking them, and then it becomes this giant search across the country to find something to replace a piece that's in need. In the meantime, you're not allowed to, cannot use that piece of equipment. And obviously if it's a generator, that's problematic, but if it's a grader during the winter storm, that's also problematic. So the staff in fleet, and then with my oversight as the department head, we take a look at the costs associated with keeping that piece of equipment, the frequency in which it's in the shop, and as that escalates, you start finding that point of diminishing return. And so we looked at the life expectancy of each of these vehicles, and we adjust them based on our history.
And you do that per vehicle, Les?
We do that per vehicle type. Okay, so pickup versus police car versus dump truck. And we also do that per vehicle individual. What's the condition of that particular individual? Because a pickup that is driven by the Deputy Director of Operations doesn't see the same workload as one driven by the water distribution crew that has all the tools and everything being thrown around in it. And so we look at each of those individual vehicles in terms of their condition, and we do that annually. And there are times when we'll say, okay, this one's really due to be replaced this coming year, but because it's had lighter duty, if you will, as compared to a younger vehicle that's had a heavier duty, we may sometimes swap those out and take out the one that is a more of a maintenance issue or has been more heavily used. We also look annually at, okay, what is the overall term? And we're having discussions right now about police cars, for instance. Right now they're on a 5-year cycle. Is that where it should be? Should it be 6? Should it be 5? Should it be 7? Are fire trucks at 20? Is that where they should be, or should they be a little more or a little less? Generators are 25 years. That's fairly long, and again, a parts problem arises. Pickup trucks are sitting at 12 years right now. If you look at federal standards, it's 7. So we, years ago looked at that and said, well, it probably should be at least 10 in Moscow. And then as our history has developed and we've tracked it, we've pushed that out to 12. So everywhere we can, we're trying to stretch those vehicles' lives as long as we possibly can to a point that it's like, well, okay, now it's no longer cost-effective to do so. We're continuing to look at issues of, okay, can we change the program a little further such that non-critical vehicles perhaps go a little longer yet, with the idea of a pickup breaks down, okay, there are others in the fleet we can use while we're getting that one fixed or replaced. Now, critical vehicles like fire trucks and police cars, you can't do that. But for other types, parks trucks and water trucks, things like that, you might be able to do that for some vehicles. One other thing we do, just to finish up, is we do a low-use vehicle assessment periodically, where we take a look at, okay, out of all these vehicles, how are they being used? How many miles, how many hours are occurring? And those that are seeing limited use, we take a closer look and say, all right, is there some other way that we can meet the need that this vehicle serves by combining uses or consolidating, 2 vehicles into one? For instance, there's a quad cab pickup sitting out here that's attached to engineering. We bought some years ago for a variety of purposes. It's one I drive. It's the one that, our staff over here drives when they got multiple people going places. There's a sanitation pickup that serves our sanitation director, Tim, and both of those have low miles. So this year we took the sanitation pickup, took it out of the system, and we're sharing the quad cab out here now. So we'll combine uses, and that vehicle will get greater use, and it will reduce the number of vehicles in the fleet. So that's the type of thing we go through every year, if not more frequently than that.
Wes, I appreciate that. I kind of had a fairly good idea that that was going to be your long and your short answer.
Yes.
But I think it's great to have it on the record that the city staff does more than just go out and buy new pickups every year. Every year we do buy new pickups. Every year we buy police cars. We buy all sorts of things. And we have a staff, especially with the red pickups, that keep those pickups looking good, and they can be mistaken for new pickups when actually they may be 5 or 6 years old.
That's true.
So, like I said, thank you very much for putting that out and making a public explanation as to how the process works, and that we try to spend the money as judiciously as possible.
You're welcome.
Wayne?
One other question, go back to talking about generators, just very quickly. We have a huge generator at the wastewater treatment plant.
Yes.
It almost takes up a room half this size, and it almost looks like it's big enough to power up half the city of Osco, which of course it's not. How old is it?
I believe that generator was acquired in about 2000 or so, 2000, 2001, right in that time frame. And so it's 14
Maybe it
years or
has another
so,
10 years.
about that.
Yeah, that's going to be a spendy one.
That will be a spendy one. And obviously that's a unit that has to run an entire treatment plant. So yes, it is very large.
Well then, in that case, I would make a motion that we award the contract for the fire station number 1 emergency power generator to the low bidder, which was GROP LLC, in the amount of $54,448, and to go ahead and authorize staff to approve any necessary change orders not to exceed 10% of the contract value.
I'd second that.
Okay, we got a motion by Wayne and a second by John to award the contract to GROP LLC in the amount of $54,448 and to authorize staff to approve any necessary change orders not to exceed 10% of the contract value. I will start to roll with John.
Excuse me. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.